Mary Meeker, who's now at her old firm, said at D last week that in the first quarter she did no deals in the fund. Valuations were too high. It suggests at some level that private market valuations now look like they're above public market valuations. Talk a little bit about what you were thinking is about this valuation.
So I'm going to be equally hard back, make for a little more fun.
Yeah.
Journalists like to write about these things because they need column inches of space in their magazines and newspapers.
I can see the best. We can't just run ads.
From the point of view of you guys, entrepreneurs and us, reality is life is what it is, we deal with it, right? The real stuff that goes on in the valley, and I keep reminding people this, has nothing to do with stock prices of any public company. It's completely unrelated to the reality. When we had the quote-unquote bubble crash back in 98 and 2000 and 2001, I was asked the same question. How's the internet going to be different? And I'm answering a slightly different question, but it's an important perspective to have. I said, I'll bet you nothing will be different in 10 years from what it would have, what I would have forecast 2 years ago. And when you look at internet traffic, real usage of the internet, through the last bubble or this bubble, you can't detect it. So what's the bubble? Is it stock prices, which are hypothetical things that somebody on Wall Street who I don't care about trades on? Or is it what the actual usage users do of the internet or the services entrepreneurs offer? There's probably a more appropriate second half of your question. Hopefully I've told you bubbles are largely irrelevant. And Wall Street, just please ignore it all the time.
Well, it does though. So I understand what you're saying. There's no question that internet.
Well, I am going to answer the private valuations question, right? Because that is a relevant question.
Okay.
I think some investors in the valley, mostly the people who are pressed to do a certain number of investments, will bid prices up. The smart venture firms tend to ignore those. My standard approach, we just did one with somebody who is really, really well connected and would have gotten a term sheet from the top 6 VC firms. And they came to me and said, you interested? And I said, yes, I am, but I'm not going to compete with any of the other firms. So if you want to go to all the other firms, go get term sheets from them. We won't put a term sheet in. I'll give you an example. A path got done at this great high valuation. We are probably the only ones who were seriously interested who didn't put in a term sheet. Because my proposition to Dave Moran and Pat, and then in recently what happened last week, was very simple. You decide who's the first person, who's your first choice of an investor you want to work with. Who do you have chemistry with? Who do you think can help you the most? If we are it, if we are number one, sit down with us, and if we can work out a reasonable valuation that you're comfortable with in an hour, we'll shake hands. And if we can't, then we'll just let you go do what you want. In the case of Pat, they decided they wanted term sheets, and we said fine. So we didn't put one in. In this particular case, somebody probably better known than Dave Moran, they decided they wanted to work with us over all other firms. So on Friday, they called me Thursday and said, yeah, you've done your due diligence. If you're ready to go, you are our first choice. We met on Friday morning, and we came to a reasonable agreement, and that was the end of it. So my point is, good venture firms don't chase other people's valuations. And people who chase other people's valuations end up with partners who are suboptimal. My advice to everybody, decide who's your first choice to work with, see if you can work something out in the reasonable range. Whenever you stretch somebody, let's say I invest in somebody and it's a real stretch and it's not going to work, but I put some money in again. Next round, if you need support in a high valuation, we may be less willing. Like, VCs will play this game and you don't really get what you think you're getting. The best thing is to decide who's culturally the best fit for you as an entrepreneur and see if you can work something out reasonable with them.
So I think that's